meeting with the 14th Ward Democratic Committee and the 7th Ward Democratic Committee. The main focus, as you know, is going to be an Attorney General debate. And you have some, one of the committee members put together some initial information about what the Attorney General does and is, so I hope you'll read it. And, you know, as we see, our current governor was Attorney General. And one of the things, from my point of view, why the Attorney General's race is very important is the Attorney General can choose which cases to investigate and which cases to prosecute. And I'm sure some of you probably read in the paper that he put 14 investigators on Bill DeWeese when he was in the Democratic House of Representatives in Harrisburg, and he put one investigator on the Jerry Sandusky allegation. So just as an example of what kind of power the Attorney General has, I wanted to remind you of that statistic that was in the paper last week. Just a couple of announcements. There's people from the Obama campaign that have information and petitions, and they're having an opening of their office in the Strip District this week, so you can pick up information about that. One very important issue that's coming up in the state Senate is the voter ID bill. I hope you've been following it, but it's going to require people to have picture IDs in order to vote. The people that are pushing this obviously are doing it because they want to have Pennsylvania go for the Republicans in the fall. I mean, there's no other reason why they're doing it. There's no proof that there's any kind of wide voter fraud. And one of the big things with, if it does pass, is it's going to be very burdensome on the elected official or the election officials, who are the people that check everybody in at the polls. Can you just imagine what the lines are going to look like? So as part of the strategy to defeat this, there's people here today. Joy in the yellow jacket over there is here, and she brought information that you can pick up if you are an election official at your polling place. They're trying to get organize the elected officials, and she has information over on the table on the side.
What is the status of the bill?
What is the status of the bill? I'm going to defer to Dan Frankel to answer that question, or Jay Costa.
I believe it's in the Finance Committee of the Senate, having passed the House.
Thank you.
Okay, is that correct?
Appropriations.
That's a really good trick, Jay, throwing your voice over.
The bill passed the House. We tried a number of amendments to it that failed. It's now in the Senate. As I understand it, Jay can probably speak to this as well. The Senate has some issues with the bill. I think there I guess is some appetite to include expired driver's licenses and student IDs potentially as modifications of the Senate version. I don't know if that would pass muster in the House or not. Either way, it's a bad bill, so I think we can all agree. Ultimately, we also passed. I also offered an amendment in the House that was supported by the Baker-Carter Commission, which endorsed, unfortunately, voter ID. That would require that there be outreach and voter education. That there'd be money that would be expended. At least if you're going to have it, you got to explain to people what they need to do, why we're doing this. And they defeated that bill, which I think that amendment, which clearly exposes, I think, the cynical nature of this, that you're not even going to educate people, spend money to educate them about the need to go out and get a voter ID. It really is a clandestine effort to suppress the vote. So,
Thanks, Dan. So anyway, see Joy or pick up the information if you're an election official. This information is for election officials only because it is an additional strategy that people trying to defeat the bill in the Senate are going to be using. Okay. Oh, yes, of course, Ron. Ron Gatos, our fundraising chair, just reminded me that to remind everybody that on March 31st, we're having our second annual Progressive Film Festival, sponsored by the 14th Ward Independent Democratic Club. Last year, we had about 20 entries, and they were all very exciting entries. This year, we had a lot longer lead time, so we're hoping to have even more and better entries, and you'll all be getting information in the mail about that shortly. So, but mark the date, March 31st. And the next day, April 1st, is going to be our 14th Ward Democratic Club endorsement for the Democratic primary. Some of you asked about my shirt, my No Newts shirt. It's from in 1995 when Newt Gingrich became Speaker of the House. The club made these shirts and sold them, and I dug mine out, as did my other cohort, Beverly Taylor, dug hers out today. But, you know, sad to say, they're current, and they were We used to wear them and sell them when he was Speaker of the House until he resigned under ethics violations. And a lot of people were saying, oh, you know, we want Newt because he's easy to beat. But I think we have to be very, very vigilant no matter who the Republican nominee is in the fall, because the super PACs and the corporate money are going to be attacking Barack Obama regardless of who the Republican nominee is. So I don't think we can sit back and say, oh, if it's Newt, we're good, or if it's Romney, we're good, because I think we're going to have a big fight no matter who it is. So that's just my opinion. And unless, I don't think I forgot any announcements that I said I would make, so at this point I'm going to turn the program over to the 7th Ward Chair, Jeanne Clark, who has some introductions to make.
Hello. Hi, I'm Jeanne Clark. I'm chair of the Shadyside Dems, and we're delighted to be co-sponsoring this event today. We are also videotaping it to be shown on the Shadyside Dems website, which is www.shadysidedems.org. It should be up by this evening, and so you'll be able to relive it live and in color. Just a quick personal announcement. A dear friend of the Democrats and all things that are good and holy, Ann Feeney, got a wonderful diagnosis on Wednesday morning, which was there is no evidence of cancer anywhere in her brain. But 9 hours later, she fell down the basement stairs and massively broke her left wrist, and is covered with contusions and lacerations. She's going into surgery on Tuesday, and I'm coordinating the visiting caregiving. So anybody who's got any time, contact me before I leave. Now, we also are lucky enough to have a number of elected officials here. And I'm going to start elected and party officials. And I'm going to start off with my favorite, my newest, our county chair, Nancy Patton Mills. Nancy? For those of you who haven't gotten to know Nancy, she's wonderful, she's fun, and she has some great stories about Tim Sullivan, my late husband. We also have Craig Stevens. Craig is Scott Township Commissioner. We have Jay Costa, the 43rd Senator. And Jay has his petitions. I can't tell you how wonderful it's been to have Jay leading the Democrats in the Senate. They actually are going forward in what they're fighting. We have City Council member Corey O'Connor. Corey. We have another great person who's been fighting the good fight tooth and nail, Dan Frankel, one of our House representatives. We have Joe Preston, another one who's out there on the battlefield. And for about a New York minute, Joe was going to be representing part of my ward, but that got changed. And we're back to Representative Dom Costa, who isn't here. We have Bill Peduto, another one who's leading the fight for progressiveness and all things good and holy in City Council. We've got Mike Lamb, who is our City Controller. We have Mike Doyle, our Member of Congress. And let me just make sure you know, Mike does have an opponent this year, and she has filed the $4,000 necessary to go for the county party endorsement. So it is a not insignificant challenge, and she says the Lord told her to run. So let's make sure we're giving Mike as much help as possible. And then when my son was young and I would be yelling at him about eating all of his food, he would say, "I've saved the goodness for last." And I've saved the goodness for last. Our county executive, Rich Fitzgerald. And Barbara Daly Danko, our county council member. How could I goodness I saved for last. Yeah. Ed Gainey, the city Democratic Committee Chair. Is there anybody else I've blown it on? Okay, I just want to make a plea. Everyone who's running for re-election or election has petitions. They need to be signed. They need to be circulated. In a crowd like this, I expect you to not just sign them, but to take one and get your friends to sign it too. This is going to be challenging this year because people don't think there's anything to vote about, and aren't they fools for thinking that? And Sam will be happy to, if you've brought petitions with you, he'll be happy to notarize them here, or you can have them notarized at the endorsement meeting at IBEW. Nancy, what's the date of that? February 12th. And the Allegheny County Democratic Committee office is moving to downtown this weekend, so they're going to be easier for all of us to get to and be able to take the bus for at least a few more minutes and do the work we need to do as Democrats. We have two absolutely wonderful candidates for Attorney General this year. Kathie pointed out the disaster that has happened to individuals as a result of our previous and, to some extent, current, the interim Attorney General. As someone who's worked in the past with sexual assault victims, to have the investigation go that long while these kids were basically hung out to dry in their communities as the word spread of what was going on, just caused enormous pain and shows really, I think, the Republican Party's willingness to do absolutely anything, say absolutely anything, and harm absolutely anybody in order to get elected. We can't let that happen again, but we have never, since this became an elected office, we have never been able to elect a Democrat. But we're going to change that this year. Kathleen Kane, I met her at the Pennsylvania Now Convention this past year. She's a veteran prosecutor, and she's prosecuted thousands of cases from murder and assault to child abuse and elder abuse, from rape and domestic violence to public corruption and insurance fraud. She's born and raised in Scranton, although she doesn't work for Dunder Mifflin. And she graduated from the University of Scranton and Temple University School of Law in Philly. Her legal career began in civil litigation with the firm of Post & Shell, PC, in Philadelphia before returning home to accept a position as an Assistant Attorney General in the Lackawanna County District Attorney's Office. She's running for Pennsylvania Attorney General as a Democrat. She lives in Clarks Summit with her husband Chris and two sons, Christopher and Zach. Patrick Murphy is an Iraq War veteran and former prosecutor who served in the Army JAG Corps for 5 years. He was the first Iraq War veteran elected to Congress, where he fought for tougher consumer protection laws, stronger environmental regulations, and introduced legislation that eventually we were successful, thanks to his introduction, to end Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He lives in Bristol, Pennsylvania, with his wife, Jenny, hard to read, and children Maggie and Jack. So, I'm done. You don't have to hear from me again. Thank you very much. And Sam, you're going to...
I'll be very, very quick. My name is Sam Hans-Greco. I'm the chair of the 14th Ward. I want to thank you for coming today, and I want to welcome you for taking the time to be here. When we first started talking about having this debate and forum, we sort of clear that it was going to be one of the few statewide races that's going to be contested this year. And my role today is really to ask you for your help going forward in this year. As you know, and as my committee is probably tired of hearing me say, I'm very committed to building a strong grassroots network in the East End, the 14th Ward, so that when we have candidates who come who are running for national office or statewide office, when they come to the 14th Ward, they know that they can know that we are here to help them and support them. First, by having events like this. We're still 3 months, I know it may seem early, but it's 3 months to the election. They have a whole statewide to travel. But to be able to put a group of people this size in the room for them today, to hear their messages and hear their candidates, I think is a tribute to you. And I want to continue that tradition that I think Barbara Danko started when she was serving as the chair. So first, I want to thank you for being here. Number two, I want to ask your help going forward. There's a lot of work we can do. I'm a real believer, like I said, in this grassroots networking. I mean, not knowing our street list, knocking on doors, having house parties, and making sure we get the voters to come out. And I think this is a really key election on as Barbara said, I mean, I think we're all tired of hearing, no Democrat has ever won the Attorney General race. I think this year is different. Corporate has given us a lot of stuff to work with, a lot of material. I think President Obama is going to be pulling high numbers out for voter turnout, and I think we have two very, very good candidates. So today, and part of that, what I want to tell the candidates is that I'm making the commitment that within 30 days after one of them are elected, that we're going to have them back for a fundraiser in the East End, because not only they need our help, they also need our cash. So I want them to know that come next November, that we're going to be out working for them, and that we're going to start early and help them also raise some money. Finally, just a real quick word on sort of today. A lot of you have run for office, you've run campaigns, you've helped people run for office. You know how difficult and hard it is. We also know there's plenty of folks who can be unkind and rude out there to candidates. So today, I think we have an obligation to them, to give us their respect while they're talking and presenting. And if you disagree with them, you can ask them a question. You can vote against them at the endorsement or the primary. But let's give them the respect that they're due and accorded for today. So I do want to welcome them to be here. And like Barbara said, grab me afterwards. I'll notarize petitions if you want me to do that also. So finally, I want to turn it over to our moderator. Paul Klein is a resident of the 14th Ward. He's a professor of the law and ethics at Duquesne University at the School of Business. He's also a 14th Ward committee member and a member of the 14th Ward Club. Please welcome Paul. One other thing, I have these little blue cards. If you want to write down a question, I can pass them around and we'll pick them up and hand them off to Paul after he has a series of questions. I'll pick those up. Welcome Paul, turn it over to Paul. Let's welcome our candidates, we would. Thank you very much.